Hello and welcome to another episode of Just Ask Bobby. I'm your host, Ed Blair, and joining me is our tech expert on all things Porsche, Bobby Varela. Today we're focusing on the topic of service intervals. Regular maintenance is not just about keeping your car running, it's about ensuring its reliability and performance. Join us as we discuss the importance of servicing your vehicle to avoid any potential issues. Bobby, thank you for joining me. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. As you know, most Porsche vehicles sit in the garage. They're third cars or they're play toys, and they tend to collect more dust than miles. When they're part-time cars and you have to service them, what special needs do you have to take into consideration when you're servicing a car that's been sitting around?
So we recommend, or Porsche recommends, that you service your vehicle a minimum of once a year, which basically entails an oil service, which includes checking of a bunch of things, checking brakes, tires, suspension, any fluid leaks, anything that looks out of the ordinary, any safety issues, lighting, all those kinds of things, once a year.
Great. And so really it doesn't matter if the car has been sitting. You really want to treat it as if you've been driving it. Is that correct?
That is correct. Regardless of how many miles, service it once a year minimum.
Are there any issues that arise when the car sits just not used versus used?
Absolutely. So seals dry out, and that's when we develop oil leaks. Porsches are notorious for leaking oil, especially older Porsches from the 70s, 80s, actually 60s, 70s, and 80s. Tires flat spot. So if your car sits a lot, you should overinflate your tires a little bit just so that they stay round. Battery, trickle charger. Want to put the battery on a trickle charger so it doesn't lose its charge. Aside from that, you should do a walk around your car before you go to take it out, just to make sure all your tires look good, things look normal, you don't see any excessive leaking of any fluids on the floor in your garage or anything like that.
Great. And I know a lot of our viewers out there are thinking to themselves, well, my car sits for the most part and it doesn't get a lot of mileage on it, and yet every year it seems like I have to change my oil. And I don't understand why. Could you shed some light on why it's so important to change oil?
Absolutely. So the recommendation for the service is not just the changing of the fluid. A lot of it has to do with actually checking. So for instance, if you have a convertible 911, for instance, that vehicle has water drains. If those drains are not cleared and they get clogged, water will end up in your car and cause a bunch of issues. So maintaining or having your vehicle serviced once a year allows your certified Porsche trained technician to evaluate your vehicle and make sure that it's in good working order so that when you want to go take it out and play and have some fun, you don't have any issues.
Now, I know along those same lines, people also think about the air filters too. Tell me about when you would normally change an air filter. Let's talk about more modern Porsches. The older ones, it seems like it's probably easier to change filters, but the newer ones are more of a situation where you have to take the back of the car apart. Tell me about service intervals on air filters, specifically engine air filters.
Okay, so again, Porsche recommends at least once a year. Depending on the amount of driving you do, once a year as a minimum is good. If you don't drive your vehicle often and it sits a lot, you could probably get away with every 2 years. The idea is this: if your filter is clogged, your engine is starving to get the air inside the engine that it needs for the proper combustion to happen. So basically, your car is restricted for breathing. So replacing the filter and making sure that your filter is clean allows your vehicle to breathe easier.
Very good. That sounds good. Tell me finally about brakes. Brakes are another thing that are very important, obviously, and I personally know that I change mine every couple years. But tell our audience out there what they need to know about flushing brake fluid.
Absolutely. So the braking system has fluid that runs through it. That fluid is hydroscopic, and what that means is it attracts water. So it is recommended that we perform a brake fluid flush every 2 years. That ensures that the internal components like calipers and brake master cylinder and booster and so forth don't get any contamination and start to corrode from the inside out.
Very good. Any other servicing tips or?
Yes, absolutely. So one that's very important that a lot of people forget is that they have a transmission that has fluid in it, and it needs to be serviced as well, especially these PDK transmissions every 30,000 miles.
I see. That's not time sensitive? That's only at the 30,000 mile mark?
If you don't hit 30,000 miles in a 4-year time span, I would highly suggest doing the service.
Gotcha. Okay, well, great. Bobby, thank you again for joining us. This is very informative. For our audience out there, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.